Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another very cool Collecta 2024 release, and in fact it is the final release from Collecta for 2024. We've got ourselves a brand new tube of dinosaurs. This is the Sauropod tube. Obviously it's sitting sideways currently, but if we held it up in a way where you can see a better look here, you can see we have the Collecta logo, and then of course a few of the sauropods right there on the front. And then you can kind of see, of course, considering it is one of the tubes, you can kind of see some of the figures there contained within, which I'm really excited to pop open and check out. So let's do exactly that. I'm going to remove this little tag, and then we'll get to work on this. Once we open it up, first of all, we've got a little slip in here, and it shows you all the different minis that we have included this time around, as well as a very cool cycad tree. So the ones that we have included in here, we've got the Argentinosaurus, which is a very nice looking figure. We also have the Brachiosaurus, which is an older figure, but they very nicely have replicated the larger figures now in obviously smaller form. We've also got the cycad tree that we were just speaking of, and then the Rhedosaurus, which also looks pretty cool. I like this one because it's a species that we have not had that I can recall outside of Collecta. I don't think anybody else has released one. We also have the Brontosaurus, of course, and then we have the Paralotitan right here as well, which is a really nice looking figure, and I can even see gloss coats on the eyes, which is a super nice touch for these. There is the Ankylosaurus, which is actually, I think, one of my favorite Collecta Sauropods ever, at least as far as like the normal sized version. We have the Jobaria as well, which is another really cool figure that I have not seen anyone, another species I have not seen anyone release outside of Collecta so far. We have the Nigersaurus as well, which is actually really nice for being a mini. Again, their larger version, I don't think I've ever reviewed, but I do like that figure as well. We have the Mamenchisaurus, which looks absolutely epic here, and the final one would be the Agostinia, and definitely another really cool looking figure as well. So we've got lots to choose from when it comes to the sheer amount of sauropods in this line, and in a world full of dinosaur figures but severely lacking sauropods, this is a very welcome release for me. So let's jump to a closer look at all of these and check them out. So we'll begin with this one, if my camera focuses, which is the Rhedosaurus, and you can see again we've got a pretty darn nice looking head sculpt. Definitely looks like, and in fact all of these look like just the larger figures that they have out, but obviously at a fraction of the size. You can see the eyes are painted with a nice glossy black. As you move down, you've got that very bumpy texture to the back of the dinosaur, but even when you stray from those bumps, the skin texture looks fairly decent. You've got a little variation of color to it as well, as we've got like brownish tones up here in the neck, but as you move down into the body you have almost like a bluish gray, and then you've also got some different variations of grays here on the side, or like grayish browns. On the underside you also have a greenish tone as well. The dinosaur is one of two sauropods in this set that are standing on its rear legs, kind of rearing up, which is also a really cool pose for the figure. And overall, I think this one looks pretty nice. Again, the fine detail looks good. The paintwork looks good. As far as the entire figure goes, you can see the marking right there, but definitely a really cool sauropod, especially at such a small size. Then we've got the Mamenchisaurus, which is also, again, almost like a clone of the larger one that released a few years back. You can see the mouth is sculpted in an open position. We again have a nice glossy black for the eye, which you can see that gloss coat shining. For its size, it is absolutely magnificent, especially when you look at the actual skin texture and scale detail. Again, on this figure, considering its size, man, that is super, super impressive. You've got the ridges moving down along the back. You have variation of color with grays and browns on this one as well. Again, I like that these are painted so nicely considering the fact that they are minis. Again, they definitely put their fair share of effort into making these look really good. And then as you move down into the body, you can see again all of the same type of detail we see on the larger one, as well as again the very nice impressive paintwork. The actual texturing of this honestly is phenomenal considering its size. Like, I did not expect it to look quite as crisp and as good as it does. You can see the tail that we have here loops around here to the side. And again, we have a lighter tone for the underbelly of the Mamenchisaurus as well. And obviously a really cool pose with it kind of looking up toward its left. And just generally, again, really nicely done. Still just so blown away by how good the texturing and scale detail and everything looks on this figure. I get that it's just the larger figure shrunken down, but it's still impressive considering its size. Like, that's pretty darn small for the detail to look as good as it does. Now we have the Brachiosaurus, and although I think the Brachiosaurus looks fairly decent, I would say it's probably going to be the weakest link out of any of the figures in here. There are a few Brachiosaurus sculpts out from Collecta. This is not their deluxe version. This is their smaller version that they've replicated here. I kind of prefer the deluxe version, even if it's a bit different than what you would usually see when it comes to a Brachiosaurus reconstruction. It has a very unique look. I am quite partial to that one over this version, but this one as well looks pretty decent. Don't have much in the way of color variation on it though, as you only basically have a green and then a lighter tone for the underbelly. But one thing, actually I guess you can see there is just some black for the feet, kind of, I guess, for like the nails. Nah, it's pretty much just the black for the feet. But the detailing as well does look really good on this one, again, considering it is a very small figure, and also considering it is one of Collecta's older figures, it still sports some fairly nice looking sculpt and detail. Again, the black eyes, just like we saw in the others. So even though I would say that's probably going to be the weakest overall, even though I haven't taken a look at them all yet, but I would say this is most definitely going to be the weakest, it's still not bad. We've also got the Nigersaurus, which again, this one is another older figure from Collecta, but still looks pretty decent, again, considering its age. It's not half bad at all, and you can see, again, the detail looks really good. You can even see the nostrils right there. We have the very nice black eyes on this one. A little variation of color with like a lighter yellowish sort of brown for the snout, and then you have greenish tones for the body with a nice striping effect moving through. You can see that lighter tone in the stomach region as well. You don't see it on the underside though, shockingly. But the tail leads down and curves away from us on the other side. But still, again, fairly decent looking when it comes to how vibrant the detail is. When you get nice and close, you can see, again, it's really impressive considering its size. We do, again, have like a black kind of painted over the nails to sort of give it a little bit of nail paint, which you can also see on the underside of the foot. So again, it's super impressive how good of a job Collecta has done on these sauropods. I would say this might be one of, if not their best tubes ever, especially when it comes to the care and paintwork that's put into these. We've also got the Agostinia, which is actually one of the smallest in here. Maybe the smallest overall. It would be this or the Ampulosaurus, but you can see this as well. Again, is pretty much a clone of their larger version. Now, of course, at a much smaller size. You can also see the 2023 stamp back here on the tail, which is a little bit obnoxious. I would definitely have preferred that under here, but I guess we've got the Collecta logo and stuff down here. Again, taking up that room. But you can see we've got a darker tone leading along the top, a greenish tone down here on the side. And again, the same sort of sculpt, same positioning. Everything looks the same, I think, as far as the larger one. It's been a little while since I had taken a look at my larger one, but it looks pretty much the same to me. Still pretty nice, again, and very, very small, even smaller than the others. Then we've also got the Paralotitan, and you can see this one also looks really nice. Looks just like the larger one, just a little bit of like less paintwork, I would say, on this one, obviously, compared to the larger one, and that's something you'll see on all of these. But considering they're minis, that's to be expected. But I will say the head sculpt looks surprisingly really nice for its size. Like, sometimes when it comes to minis, you'll see a little bit of a decline in quality, and I don't see that at all when it comes to these. Like, the skin texture is still there. The paintwork is actually really quite nice, as we have like grayish tones, and then more like brownish tones actually, and then greens up here on the back, which looks really cool. We again have that very bumpy skin texture throughout. We also have a darkening in the legs as you lead down. Beautiful curve to the tail as it curves back up and around. Again, another, I would almost say, classic figure from Collecta, now recreated in mini form. And yet again, we have those really nicely glossed eyes. Then we've got the Ankylosaurus, which, as I said, the larger version is definitely one of my favorite sauropods to come from Collecta ever. This one also looks really good, and again, the detail is exceptionally vibrant on this figure. We have more grays as well as some browns in the stomach region, a little bit of a lighter tone here for the underside, which is a different tone than what we see on the side. You can even see the cloaca on the underside. Again, just showing you how much detail they cram into these tiny figures. You can see, if my camera would focus on it, there's also a little variation of color on the snout, which it's really not going to pick up on, apparently. You can see that head sculpt looks really nice right there. Again, you've got the nicely painted eyes. And just like with the others, the detail looks really good. This time we have the Collecta stamp on the side, and then the CE stamp on the underside of the figure. But yet again, it looks really, really crisp considering its size. That detail absolutely pops. Then we have the Jobaria, which again I would say is another of my, if we were going to go with the top 5 list of sauropods, I feel like when it comes to Collecta sauropods, this one would definitely be on the list as well. You've got, again, that nice sculpted head. You've got the eyes painted with a glossy black like they all have. We have that reddish tone moving down along the back with like a spotting effect moving through. And again, another sauropod that's standing up on its rear legs, kind of rearing up. We also have a greenish tone for the underbelly. And just like with the others, I feel like it pretty much shares and holds the same amount of detail, again, that you see on the larger figure. It is super, super impressive, but again, just another absolutely gorgeous sauropod, very muscular looking one as well. Then we've got the Brontosaurus, and the Brontosaurus is one of my favorite Collecta releases as a whole that I think they've released ever. Like, it's definitely one of the single best sauropods on the market, and you can see, again, the fine detail, the scale detail is insanely nice on this tiny, tiny mini. We have the same coloration as what we have on the larger version as well, with brownish tones, and the lighter tone here for the underbelly, and even a little bit of red as you lead up here toward the head of the dinosaur. Again, the eyes are a bit large on this one. They're definitely a little bit too big. Yeah, same deal for that one, but you can see, again, they have that nice gloss coat to them. Still, again, pretty much a clone of the larger one at a much smaller size. And the final sauropod would be the Argentinosaurus. And again, it's, like I said, like all of these have been, basically just the larger one shrunken down at a much smaller size, similar coloration and everything. Really nice variation of color to this one, as we have, all sorts of variations of browns all over it, lighter and darker shades, as well as that nice striping and patterning moving through. You can see some of the larger sort of osteoderm-like scales, as well as the nice finer skin texture throughout. Not much in the way of coloration really for the underside. Looks like we have a little bit of brown for the feet, but not really specifically for the nails. A lot of them have been painted so it kind of looks like the coloration was for the nails. This one not really so much. But again, a really nice looking version of the Argentinosaurus from Collecta as well. And then the final piece of the puzzle is the cycad tree. And the cycad tree is actually super nice looking, and I think is just a really nice addition to this set, especially when you have a few sauropods that are sort of rearing up and again maybe trying to eat from a tree. This is a great addition to include in the display so that you can have them displayed with the tree, and the fine detail of the tree is really good. Even the earthy area down here looks great. It's all just a solid brown, and then you come up here and you can see that the tree and the leaves and everything look really nice greens up here. This is actually a separate piece that you connect to the tree once you pull it out of the package. So a very cool addition to this set. So I don't think there's really much that needs to be done as far as like measurements or sizes or anything like that. We're definitely not going to measure each and every one of these sauropods. I think the best thing we can do is just basically go straight to size comparisons. So there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collecta human being next to our mini figures here from this mini sauropod tube. And you can see that they are all very small, especially when it comes to minis. They're pretty much in the size range you would expect. If you are familiar with the Collecta minis, if you happen to have any of their previous tubes, I think you're really going to have an idea of the size. But if you don't, maybe this comparison will help you. And if not, then for a mini figure comparison, we have a Mattel Jurassic World Mini on the right and a Captives Jurassic World Mini on the left. So very clearly you can see that even when it comes to minis, a lot of these sauropods are probably even smaller than you would expect them to be. And hopefully these comparisons have definitely given you an idea of the size. I don't feel like too many comparisons are really going to help us at this point. Just know that they are very, very small. So this Collecta minifigure tube, the Sauropod version, is really, really nice. Honestly, I would say it's probably one of the nicest releases that we have out of everything this year, because you have so many gorgeous sauropods now shrunken down to a minifigure size range. So if maybe like some of these figures were kind of on your wish list and you're running out of room in your collection, but you really want to own those sculpts, these are a great option to own a lot of the best sauropods that I think Collecta has to offer in a tiny, tiny size that would conveniently fit into any collection. And honestly, each of the figures I feel like hold almost the same detail, if not the same detail that you see on the larger ones. A few of the figures look like maybe they're just a little bit less detailed, but for the most part, I would say 99% of them seem to have the same detail that they have in the larger versions, especially when you look at some of the newer figures like the Brontosaurus and Mamenchisaurus. Those things are gorgeous when it comes to the fine detail. The paint apps on these are also really nicely done, shockingly well done considering they are small minifigures. They still have incredibly impressive paint apps with a good bit of variation of color and nicely painted eyes on all of them, except for I think the Brontosaurus's eyes are just a little bit big, but for the most part I think the eyes are even nicely painted. Then they've even tried in some cases to paint out like the nails with like a little quick airbrushing over. There's just a good bit of variation of color and a good bit of paint application that has been added to them, and for the most part it looks really smooth and natural. And of course the addition of the cycad tree is just a really nice touch, especially for display purposes. So if you are interested in grabbing this tube of sauropods, make sure you keep checking back to Everything Dinosaur's website and of course their social media accounts and follow them there so that you know when this is going to come into stock, because once it does, I highly recommend picking this up and adding it to your collection. So of course make sure you do that, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.